This video is about generators. The prerequisites to understand today's topic is to know yield statement and iterators. You can check out the latest two videos in the series. When we talk about generators, there are two terms involved. Generator function, which is like a normal function. The only difference is whenever it needs to generate a value, it uses the yield statement instead of return statement. Therefore, whenever a function contains yield, this function becomes a generator function. Okay, let's define a function and we will call it genFun, open close parentheses with no inputs involved, colon, and we will use yield statement or keyword, and we want to yield just the number 10 and 20 and 30. All right, this is simply our function. Now let's have our driver code to check out the generator function. So we will have a for loop for I in this function genFun. We want to print the I. So it will loop over each element inside the function and it will yield it. All right, let's open our terminal and let's check it out. Python main.py. We get 10, 20, and 30. So genFun is a generator function because it uses the yield statement instead of the return statement. Now, what about the generator object? Generator functions return a generator object. So generator objects are used either by calling the next method on the generator object or using the generator object in a for loop. Let me give you an example for that. So here, let me put a comment, generator function. Then here we have generator object. So we will have another generator function. We will call it genFun2 without any inputs or any parameters. And we will not yield only numbers, but we will try different data types. So the first yield is 100, which is an integer, yield true, which is a Boolean value, and the third yield, let's say hello world, which is a string. All right, this is our genFun2. Now, if I will declare a variable, I will call it, for instance, scrap. And scrap will be equal to genFun2 function. If you will hover over scrap, you will find that scrap is a generator. In other words, scrap is a generator object. And let's try to print scrap. Okay, let's open the terminal and let's run the file, and we will find that generator object genFun2 at and this memory location. Okay, so this is not useful as we have seen in the last video. So what we need to do, we need to use the next method. So let's involve the next method in our code. Now, if we will run again, we will get 100, which is the first yield. And as we said, the biggest advantage of using generators is that it doesn't use the memory extensively. And if we want to do for true as well, for the second yield, so what we will need to do is just copy that line. And now we have 100 and true. So in order to yield the third value, we will just do the same. And we get 100, true, and hello world. But what if we run it again? We will get an error. If you remember, stop iteration exception. So in order to avoid that, let's wrap our code in a try except block. So we will take this, we will indent it inside, except, stop, iteration, and let's print a statement that this is the last item in the code. So let's try that one more time. So we get 100, true, hello world, and our message. This is the last item in the code. Now let me show you a final example that shows generator function creating a generator object. So Let's create a function. We will call it add num, which adds 2 numbers, and it takes num as input. For I in num, just a for loop, we want to yield I plus I. Add num is a generator function. Now let's declare a variable called foo, and foo will be equal to add num function, and we want to pass inside our arguments, so we will have a list of 2 numbers, 5 and 2, for instance. Then we want to print foo, and let's check that out. So python run.py, and we will get again a different memory address. Let's use next, and let's run that one more time, and we get 10 because 5 plus 5 equal to 10. Let's copy that line one more time in order to add 2 plus 2. Now we get 10 and 4. But what if we will do it for the 3rd time? Now we can expect a stop iteration error. So let's wrap that again in a try except code block. So here we will say except stop iteration, and we will print no more values to add. All right. And we get 10, 4, and our message, no more values to add. So this is our way to handle any errors or exceptions in our code. So to recap, add num is a generator function. Foo is a generator object. We don't save any values in the memory and wait until we use it. Instead, we yield every value that we really need in order to do some processing on it. Okay, so this was generators briefly explained in Python.